Hello everybody, welcome to week 5. I wanted to go over a couple of things that we'll be doing in the chapter this week. I'm not going to go over everything, there's a lot of details, but I am going to tell you there's a lot of useful information in these two chapters this week. Things that you'll definitely use again for school, for work, for a lot of things. So the first thing that it talks about is the different views that you can view Word. So when you open it up, this is called the print layout view. You can change the views down here. We've got the reading view, web layout. That's what it would look like if it was a web page. Okay, so the print layout is the most common. You can also change it up here in the view menu. They're right up here too. So just a couple of things to be aware of there. The next thing is the page setup. This is where, let me go, sorry. This is where you can make changes to right here, any of these items. If you want to change your margins, you can make them smaller, you can make them custom. Sometimes if you can't get everything on a page, you could maybe make your margins a little bit smaller so that it fits on a page. Orientation, you've got a portrait or landscape. Size I don't mess with a whole lot. And then we're going to talk about columns in just a minute, but that's if you have different page or different letter or paper sizes. We'll work with columns here in a minute. Another way to change the margins too, and I kind of like this one because you can kind of eyeball it. You'll notice that this is going on to the next page by just a couple of lines. So you'll notice I have the rulers turned on. You can kind of just click and drag it so that it's on one page. You could do the same thing with the bottom margin if it was still on 2 pages so that you can get it onto one. So that's something that I kind of like to work with as well. It's going to have you add some section breaks. So if you ever need to break up your document, let's say we decide that we want telecommunications on a completely different page, you could insert a break so that it's on its own page. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. It's under the layout tab. If you click on breaks, there's a lot of different breaks in there. I've never worked with most of those, but they all have a purpose. Like if you're doing like a book or something like that, you would want even and odd pages. The ones that we're going to work with the most, we're going to be doing probably next page on this one. But another easy way, without even going to the breaks box there, is just on your keyboard, just hit Control and Enter. So I've got my cursor right before telecommunications, and I just hit Control and Enter, and that takes it down to the next line. Okay, but the same thing, let me undo that. The same thing would happen if I went to breaks and did a next page break. Okay, now we're going to be working with columns, as I mentioned before, and to get the columns even on your second page, you need to insert a specific type of page break. So make sure you read through the instructions on that, because that is one of the things that you're graded on, is to make sure that the columns are even on the second page. All right, so to do columns, a couple of things to keep in mind. If I highlight all of the text, I just did Control A and then went to columns and made it 2 columns, you'll notice that it put in my title right there in one of the columns, which you may or may not want to do. Okay, so you can change it to 3 columns. This more columns right here has a few options too. You can change the number of columns, you can change the spacing, and then pay attention to this right here, because if you want it to start on just your selected text, or if you want it to go on the whole document, that's where you would change it. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So let me undo this. Okay, so let's say that I don't want the title in there. I can do it a couple of different ways. I can highlight from just here down and make it into 2 columns. Or I can put my cursor just right here at the beginning, go to columns, more columns, and I want it to apply it to just this section. If I did the whole document, or this point forward, if I did the whole document, it would include the title again. So it's going to do everything from computers on down. Oh, I didn't change. That would help if I changed the columns to 2. This point forward. So That's what I'm talking about there, is kind of pay attention to either what you're highlighting or where your cursor is, and then make those changes. Find and replace is a fun feature that I'm not going to go into, but oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. You can find text in your document and replace it really easy. So let's say I want to find the word computers and replace it with technology. So I could do replace, and it's going to go to each one if I do it that way, or I could do replace all. It says there were 8 replacements that were made. This came in really handy when I was doing a monthly newsletter. I would bring up the newsletter, I would do a search for the month, so I would say, okay, find September and replace it with October. And I would do replace all, and I didn't have to go through and find every occurrence of the month. It would just make those changes, and it was super handy. All right, the last thing is page numbers and headers and footers. So let me go to that one here. Oh, I always forget which tab it's on here. Okay. Okay, so headers and footers, we're in the Insert tab, and if you wanted to add like a page number or you know, like your name or file name or anything to the top, you click on header or footer. It gives you the different options here. If you just want something on the left or in the center, or you know, if you want to do some sort of a design or a theme. Okay, but when you click on it, it's going to kind of bring up a different screen. You're going to be in the actual header part, and anything you type in there. So let's say I just want my name in there. Okay, so now you'll notice that the rest of the document is grayed out, and if I want to get into the document to make changes there, I would either hit close header and footer, or I would just double click into the document itself. So now the document's highlighted and the header and footer is grayed out. To get back into it, I would double click, and then you can close it out again. So you can insert the date, you can insert file names, there's lots of different options with that, but as you're doing reports and things like that, it'll definitely come in handy. So, all right, let me bring over the keyword. I was going to do it in the middle this time so that those just scroll to the end don't get the advantage, but maybe we'll save that for next time. We'll see. I'll keep you on your toes. Okay, this is the word. I don't even know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. But I hope you have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.